Will concerts return in 2020? We debate it on a special edition of the Music Universe podcast. Hey, man, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. How are you?
Sounds like you're eating a little bit.
I'm eating Reese's peanut butter cups on air. I've been in Pennsylvania for a month. I do not care anymore.
Yeah, I guess so. Are you one of those? Are you one of those that just doesn't wear jeans and stuff, or you
Dude,
like
I
stay in
can't
sweats?
find my fucking belt.
I don't think you're gonna need it if you keep eating those Reese's.
There's a crappy belt here that I used like one time to go outside and go on a nice walk, but I came home a month ago. With my nice belt, I have not been able to find it since. And if that doesn't sum up 2020 in a nutshell, I don't know what does.
Well, I don't know what to tell you about that. I guess you'll just have to do a little looking around the house there to try to find your belt.
Yeah. When I need it, when it's time to go back to New York in 2022, apparently.
Well, that is kind of what we're semi-debating today. I know we've spoken off the air a little bit about the whole concert returning mass event thing for the foreseeable future, and we just wanted to just kind of chat about it a little more, and not that we can clear up anything because it's really out of all of our hands. We're just, reporting it. But I know you've heard some stuff, but tell me what you've heard, and because we've reported a couple of things, but I just want to know what you're up to date on as far as the concert scene.
Well, I understand that there's a lot of this guidance about, things may not return until 2021, or no concerts for the rest of the year, or let's even look to 2022. I think that's extreme caution, and I don't know how much that is necessary. It is unsustainable when the economy opens back up to not have events of some kind. It's my opinion. It's my feeling. What I do is I look to Las Vegas,
Right.
as the microcosm for the country. And Vegas gets overlooked a lot, but Vegas really is a microcosm for our economy on a whole, because not only is there business in Las Vegas, the business of the casinos, there's entertainment, the casinos are entertainment, and then there's every other industry in that we have across the country right there on one little strip of land. You have restaurants, you have hospitality, you
Right.
have management, you have entertainment, you have media, you have everything you could ever possibly want, a large section of it at least. A large section of industries right there in Las Vegas. And so I look to see how they're coping to predict how the rest of the country is going to do. And there's a guy by the name of Chris Rainey. He runs Yellow Productions Travel Guide. It's a channel on YouTube. He's not paying me to say this, although we do talk infrequently now since I've reached out to him about some other things. He is one of the best travel experts, I think, out there. And he was saying, and I looked before we came on and I could not find his sources, but he was saying that Las Vegas will reopen in phases. The value resorts are going to come back in May. The mid-tier resorts are going to come back, like the Luxors and the Excaliburs, and the Flamingos are going to come back in June. And then the Bellagios and the MGM Grands and those kinds of hotels are going to come back. Although MGM Grand may be mid-tier, it's debatable. But those luxury hotels are going to come back sometime in August. They're going to look to the 1st of August. But the intention from Sisolak, the governor, and Mayor Goodman is that Las Vegas is going to reopen in May, early May. And my prediction, and if we want to reveal what we've been teasing for a little while here, we can. My prediction is that the marker of a full return to Vegas and entertainment, and it's how the country's going to follow, is that Garth will have his show in August. Those are my feelings. I think if Vegas proceeds and we don't see a rise in the curve, if Vegas starts mid May, June starts opening some of the hotels that everybody patronizes, July opening more, August getting back to full speed, and continues to honor those late August bookings for the Garth show, because I'm sure they got a lot that weekend when that was announced and when those tickets went on sale and sold out. I think that will be the marker that will be back to 95, 100% of what it was.
Think so?
I hope. And it just
Yeah.
makes sense as a trajectory and a goal, an economic goal.
Right. I hope because you and I do have plans to
Yes, we
attend
do.
that Garth show.
Yes, we
you're
do.
you're going to be flying out from the Northeast. I'll be driving in from Bakersfield, and we plan to meet and have a great time at Garth. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be on the cautious side of things here, and if I could totally see your scenario if Vegas is able to open up in phases and we don't get another breakout. Totally see that being like, wow, we can do this, guys. We can get back to our regular normal. However, I am very cautious based on what Dr. Zeke Emanuel has said. For those that don't know, he's one of the key architects of the Affordable Care Act and a special advisor to the Director General of the World Health Organization. Based on his suggestions that all mass gatherings, concerts, sporting events, festivals, fairs should be on hold for 18 months because there's not a vaccine yet. And if we just get right back out there, pre-COVID-19, we're going to get a flare-up and it's going to spread. He's saying that if 1% of concert goers at a 50,000 seat venue that's like 250 people are sick and spread it, it's going to branch off again. And we cannot, the country clearly can't afford to be closed, but it also can't afford to keep reopening and closing every few months because of breakouts.
Right.
So, especially in California, I've heard the governor say, and I know this is a day by day, often hour by hour thing, but he said that California may not get any permits for large gatherings for the rest of 2020. LA
Like he
is
won't
saying
grant them, or he's worried that that's what's going to happen.
he's worried that if he grants them or we grant them, however that works, that it will do a flare up again and we'll have another breakout. So LA County is saying, as of now, he's like, the mayor there is likely not going to see any concerts, any sporting events for the rest of the year. I don't know. Like I said, that could change because here's my thought on that. If we get back when we start opening, and I know it's going to be in phases, like they're saying, if they start permitting grants and mass gatherings and concerts, and there's a 50,000 seat stadium, yet they're only able to fill half of that because of social distancing rules or laws or whatever you want to say, is it at some point it doesn't become profitable either to put on those shows.
Right.
Because of just all the expenses that you have. Obviously the venue has to get paid, the promoter, the merch people, so you're putting 25,000 people in a 50,000 state. And this is just something I'm coming up with. This is not anything I've heard anywhere. It's just my prediction.
Right.
And you put half of what it's capable of holding, plus a ton of staff to, keep things organized and keep people 6 feet apart or whatever. For one, what fun is it to be at a concert 6 feet away from your friend?
Right.
Or the next concert goer, I don't see that happening. I totally see us, and I hope I'm wrong in this case. I totally don't see concerts restarting till spring of next year.
I think as long as it's strategic, Just to sum up my feeling, I feel as if as long as it's strategic, we're going to get back to it by midsummer. I don't even know that they would prevent everybody from, to use the Garth concert as an example, from going, because you still keep to yourself. I mean, I if you are not courteous enough to not cough on the person behind you or in front of you, or if you're, and I know things happen, but like, I think what it is it's not a cultural control, it's a cultural shift. We're all going to be more mindful. We're all going to try to be a little bit more polite about our spaces and the
Right.
things we let out of our personal space, like sneezes or coughs. I think we're going to be a little bit more cautious when it comes to that. But I don't see that this warrants limiting venue space, limiting restaurant spaces. You can't do that. I mean, I guess you can. I guess maybe we might be in for some culture changes, like dealers in face masks.
Oh, they're
But
already talking that. Yeah.
yeah, and that'll probably be the
And
case. But
gloves.
like, are we going to do that for the rest of forever? Is this virus that big of a threat to the whole of humanity? I mean, I saw Chiron on the news the one day. Is this the end of the world? It's like, let's stop and think about it strategically. You can criticize the president. You can agree with the president. You can criticize Fauci. You can agree with Fauci. You can criticize the World Health Organization. You can agree with the WHO. At the end of the day, you just have to see it. And at the end of the day, it's in the hands of the states whether it's in their best interest to listen to the medical advice or not. And if they don't and people get sick, then they get thrown out of office the next election. So
Right.
it really comes down to how can this be managed as people continue to move about their life. And I don't feel that canceling events is the way to go. And I'd be saying that if I didn't have a ticket on the line to this Garth thing. I would
Right.
love, as a way to celebrate a really tough winter and spring, and to celebrate being through it, and a way to I just realized my shirt's inside out. Sorry, as a way to
It's getting to you, bro.
oh my gosh. Oh, but you know what? The front of it's so comfy, so I'm leaving it like this. But
There you
anyway,
go.
as a way to deal with it, and as a way to mark kind of the beginning of the end of it, or the beginning of the new beginning, to have that concert, I'd be saying this if I didn't have tickets. I'd be saying you can't have people get back to work without them getting back to fun. Also, you can't have people in the economy, food service, insurance management, whatever, all these other industries, and not have people in the entertainment industry be able to go back to work full force as well. It has to be an all or nothing solution by the states. My feeling.
Well, I can see that. I agree. I think it has to reopen at some point. I'm just based on what I'm seeing, I don't see it coming back this year, and a lot of that also has to do with artists that are already canceling for the rest of the year. Taylor Swift is canceled, and Zach Brown Band are they were the first.
Yeah.
Zach Brown laid off about 90% of his team last month as this breakout, postponed and then canceled their tour. Just from what I'm hearing too. I mean, I've spoken to an EMT and he goes, I don't see how this is going to happen. I don't see how you're going to be able to have large scale events right now because there's no vaccine. So if we just go back full force and we get another flare up and then we're closed again September, October through the end of the year, this can't be something that happens every 6 months where we close. And I think I think what's going to happen is while they're working on the vaccine, I think it's going to open up in stages. They're going to keep social distancing for a while in whatever aspect they do it. And then I don't think it's going to be, I don't think a lot of events in at least some areas, maybe others they will get permitted. So I think the artists are going to start getting creative. They're going to have to. and they're gonna possibly start figuring out ways to get to everybody, maybe through live streaming and paying.
Well,
Um, I don't know. It's just a prediction. I mean, obviously, touring is where the artists make the most money, and it's so detrimental at this point. Some of them, it's going to be tough to recover. Um, Others may not be as tough to recover,
hmm
but you also don't want to get out there and play to half capacity and then break even
lose money.
or lose money. And I think
Certainly.
that could be what ends up happening if they force events to happen, but only at half or less than half capacity, or however they figure it out.
Well, also, a show can't go on sale without the permits. And if they do go on sale without the permits, holy hell gets raised, as we saw with Garth in Ireland.
Yeah.
So, my feeling is that Garth, his promoters, again, just to use that as the sort of big example, and I know a lot of our listeners are looking forward to that concert,
Oh, absolutely.
to use that as the example, that wouldn't have gone on sale without the proper permits. I don't think that could have gone on sale without the proper permits.
No,
So
I'm
unless they wait a second, unless they revoke the permits, which they very well could do, by all rights, they have the right to do the show at full capacity at that stadium in August. So
true.
that's speculation that they had the permits. I would think you'd have to have the permits in order to go on sale, from what I know about the logistics of concert promoting. But unless they revoke it, the permit stands as of right now.
Well, but while you're probably right on that, you're also, you know, have to consider that they they don't have to reschedule the shows that they've already done. For May,
Mm-hmm.
he's pushed them back a month. Both May shows were pushed to June. They did it based on CDC guidelines.
Right.
So I think though it'll fall back on him and anybody else that holds it at full capacity if we're back to a semi-normal state and there are social distancing rules still put in place and he sells at capacity and they don't regulate it somehow. I think while you're right, I'm sure about the permits done, they could go full head with the show. It also the venue may be like, we don't at this point we don't want to risk it because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what it
Yeah.
was, but now we're in this post COVID-19 thing. We've got to reconfigure this. So I don't know. There's a lot of logistics everyone I know has got to be freaking out about, and I know many are working with their teams instantly. Ticketmaster and AEG Live and Live Nation. They're all working to figure out what to do next, and they're about to start offering refunds for like 18,000 shows that have been or events that have been canceled or postponed, and fans only get like 30 days to do it. To
That
request that
should be
refund for
automatic.
postponed.
That should be automatic.
Well, the canceled ones are, but the postponed ones are going to be a 30-day window where if they want their money back, they got to request it. If not, those tickets will be valid for the postponed date, whatever that may be. So I don't know. I think if you see a lot of artists that are, starting to cancel for the rest of the year, I think more are going to follow suit and hold off. But that's just a prediction.
You know, yeah. So, one thing's for sure that I don't want to lose perspective on. We're living in history.
Mm-hmm.
Our children's children are going to be learning about this in the history books 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years from now. This is going to be in the McGraw-Hill history book alongside
Absolutely.
the Black Plague and the Spanish flu, and we're living it. And don't come after me. In a weird way, I'm fascinated. I hesitate to say grateful. I'm grateful that I have a safe place that I can be. But who else can say they were there? I think our country now collectively, civilian, military, health worker, we all have a war story. I'm in media, I'm reporting on this. You're seeing, as a music journalist, you're seeing how concerts are being affected. Everybody in every industry is going to have a war story that when we are through this, they will tell for the rest of their lives. And I don't ever want to lose that perspective, because when we get out the other side of this, the world, entertainment, e-commerce, business, insurance, the paper pusher, Wall Street, every single industry is going to be different. Food and beverage. And we're living history, and we will all have a war story when this is over. And that is so fascinating to me.
No, I not coming at you at all. I get the fascination because
I was talking to our listeners. I know you wouldn't.
Right.
I know you wouldn't, but.
Right. But I mean, yes, it is fascinating in the way that it's kind of surreal too. Because you're like, is this every day you wake up? It's almost like Groundhog's Day. It's like, what am I going to do next? Oh, wait, I'm going to conduct more interviews and post more news. I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to hopefully get to laundry and this and that. And yeah, it's just become like 30 days of this already. It has just become like, wow, this is kind of interesting.
To give people a glimmer of hope, and again, I'm not flying in the face of this. I'm not trying to be flagrant. First of all, thank you to the first responders and the nurses and the doctors, the police officers, the firemen, everybody on the front lines of this. But for those of us who are safe at home, especially if you can, and I know there's a whole economic side of this that for some people a safe space to shelter is tough, is hard. But for those of us who are fortunate to have a home to come to, in a weird way, this is the time to achieve your dream. This is there, especially if you were laid off from your job and you want to change your careers anyway. This is the time to look and see what will be out there for you when this is over, or to pursue, like we've been saying, and we've been open on this in the other episodes. We've been doing more interviews than in a single week, every week, than I've ever done in my career, 7 years podcasting.
Right.
Why? Because this is how we're taking advantage. We're really taking advantage of not having busy schedules outside of our day-to-day lives to do all the things we said we would do if we had the time. Now, it's unfortunate that this is how we have the time because nothing's operating, but this quarantine time is what you make of it. We will get back out there one day, and it will hopefully be in a nearer future rather than a further future. But take advantage of it. Do what you want to do, and try to make the best of your situation.
Yeah, and I think that's all we can do. I mean, if you sit at home and just kind of, man, I'm just in this funk, because this happened. You're not gonna do anything. You got to make of the situation, what you can, and I think that's. You make very valid points about all that. We're just doing interviews left and right, and it's great. So, we've got months of shows lined up because of that. And there's no way these artists or us would have had the time if it weren't for this. And I never wished for this to happen. I mean, I think it kind of, maybe I just wasn't following everything right, but I think it kind of blindsided everybody of how big this was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because suddenly things just started shutting down.
I remember I have a friend on Facebook who is very openly and proudly, irreverently smug. And he said on Facebook one day, about a month and a half ago, he said, I bet you this will be over sooner than most of you are panicking and thinking. And now, a month later, he's posting things about, I'm tired of this. I know how to wear a mask and gloves. Let me get back out there. Here he was thinking he knew it all and that it wouldn't last. Mm-hmm. And now he hasn't had anything to do for a month and a half. And not that I want to be like, well, we told the news and health officials tried to tell you so. But the truth is, this is where we are. And we all didn't want to believe it at first.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah, and I think we all have to do our part. We'll get through this quicker if we just stay at home. I've heard there's protesters in certain cities and states. What good is that doing?
Yeah.
I don't see any good in that, because if they do, even if science, so to speak, tells them, hey, you guys can start opening up again, there's nothing saying it won't come back
Hmm.
and maybe hit us even harder. But if we just get out there, okay, May 1st, let's open, because that's what we initially said we were
Yes,
doing.
but we can't live in that fear. We can't live in that fear. We have to. If we, the initial thing was back in March. It was 14 days to slow the curve. Disney's going to open back up at the end of March, and everything will be fine. If 14 days is what it takes to go through your system or to become symptomatic, and then you gotta wait it out, or whatever happens, unfortunately. So if enough people who have it stay home or go to the hospital and it gets through their system, and of course we wish everybody could recover from this, then the idea is there'll be herd immunity and it won't be as bad. Now, there are rare cases where people have been reinfected, so we don't know what the kind of immunity is going to be, and you hear the scientists talk about that. So, yes, but we can't become a country of agoraphobes. That's the problem, and that's what's happening. And frankly, when I hear you say something like, well, what if it comes back? Well, what if the sky turns purple tomorrow? I mean, you can't live like that. You have to live cautiously and by the science and by the strategy of being gradual about it.
Right, but to my point is, I'm saying these people are protesting to open,
Oh,
come
I'm with you.
May 1st, and maybe science isn't telling us it's safe yet. So they're pushing it no matter what, is my argument, and they need to just unfortunately have to ride it out a little longer until they deem that it's safer to, hey, we're not, we beat the curve for now, but let's go ahead and start reopening in phases, and then I think we'll get through it that way. But if everybody's just back on the streets and everything's back open come May 1st, I don't think we're going to get through it, especially if they don't enforce the social distancing rules that apparently they're going to plan to do for the immediate future. I know restaurants have to, maybe take out tables, separate people.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I did go to a store the other day that I've been trying to avoid, but some essentials you have to go get them, and they didn't have, it did say stay, 2 carts from people. People weren't doing that. They didn't have one-way aisles like I've heard most stores have adapted. You were just free to go about. I didn't have to wait in line to get in the store. It's a pretty big store, but I just went in and I went to a few areas that I knew I needed, and then I hit up the other areas and I rushed out of there as quickly as I could.
Mm-hmm.
I had a mask on. I didn't have an extra pair of gloves, but they didn't even have wipes for the carts, so I just used my shirt sleeve. But I don't know. I think it's still too new to people to quite realize what, how dangerous it can be, especially for those with weakened immune systems that can just, go to the store, go to concerts or whatever, and not worry about it. But I think now that everyone's going to be much more mindful of it, and even somebody like me that has allergies and kind of has a dry cough regularly, it's going to freak people out.
Yeah. Well, it all remains to be seen, but if you can believe it, we talked a half hour on this. But,
Nice.
I'm sure we'll do in a couple of weeks another update where things are and what our thoughts are. But thanks for paying attention to this midweek episode for the Music Universe podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Buddy. Keep checking out more of our podcast and themusicuniverse.com.